She had spent the whole day in back-to-back meetings making decisions that affected hundreds of people, but now she was focused on a different kind of challenge. It wasn't about profits, strategies, or quarterly targets. It was about something far more personal, far more human. She was about to go on a blind date, something she hadn't done in years. It wasn't just a simple dinner with someone new. It was complicated, delicate, and carried the weight of her life in it. She wasn't just showing up as herself. She was bringing her child, a little one who had been dealt a cruel twist of fate and lived with paralysis. She paused by the window, looking out at the city lights flickering as dusk settled in. In that quiet moment, she allowed herself to breathe, to feel the fluttering nervousness in her stomach. She had arranged the date through a friend, someone who insisted that she should give herself a chance at normal life outside the boardroom and home. The thought of stepping into the unknown made her heart pound, not because she doubted herself, but because she doubted how someone else would react. Her child was the center of her universe, and introducing them to a stranger was not something she took lightly. The little one was in the living room, spinning a colorful toy around with fascination. She watched quietly for a moment, feeling the familiar pang of both love and worry. Every decision she made about her child's life came with a burden of responsibility that never eased. But tonight she wanted to let go of some control, to allow herself a chance to meet someone who might understand, who might accept them both without hesitation. She knelt beside her child and adjusted their jacket, brushing a stray hair from their forehead. "Are you ready for dinner tonight?" she asked softly. Her child nodded, a small smile playing on their lips. She had practiced this night in her mind countless times, imagining every possible scenario. She had imagined it going well, imagined it going poorly, imagined the stranger being kind, imagined him being hesitant. But no matter what, she knew one thing: she would handle it. She had always handled everything. They left the apartment together, the quiet hum of the city beneath their feet. She held the wheelchair tightly, guiding it through the lobby and out into the evening air. The breeze was cool, brushing against her face, reminding her that life moved forward whether she was ready or not. She glanced down at her child, whose eyes shone with curiosity, and felt a deep protective instinct rise. She wanted tonight to be special, a night where her child felt included, valued, and not like a burden. The restaurant was modest but warm, with soft lighting that created a comfortable atmosphere. She could hear the faint clinking of glasses and quiet conversations, the soft hum of life that felt both distant and intimate. She felt a surge of nervousness as she approached the table where the blind date was waiting. She hadn't seen him before, only heard about him from her friend. Everything about him was a mystery, and that uncertainty both thrilled and terrified her. When she arrived, she caught a glimpse of him standing up as she approached, a polite smile on his face. He looked calm, confident, and friendly, yet there was a softness in his eyes that made her wonder if he could understand the complexity of her world. She introduced herself quickly, giving a small nod, and then gestured toward her child. "This is my little one," she said, her voice steady but soft. She wasn't sure how he would react. Would he be uncomfortable? Would he look away? Or would he meet her child's gaze with warmth and acceptance? To her surprise, he knelt down to her child's level, his eyes meeting theirs directly. "Hi there," he said gently, his voice filled with kindness. "I'm glad to meet you." Her child's eyes lit up, a shy smile forming as they responded with a small wave. She felt a wave of relief wash over her. This was a good start. The simple act of kneeling, of speaking softly, of showing genuine interest, said more than any words could. He wasn't treating her child as an interruption or an obligation. He was treating them as a person. They all sat down together, and the conversation began awkwardly at first. She had prepared questions, icebreakers, topics to steer the conversation toward, but she quickly realized that none of that was necessary. The stranger had a natural way of engaging both of them, of making them feel seen and heard. He asked her child about their favorite games, the books they loved, the things that made them laugh. She watched as her child's face lit up with excitement, something she hadn't seen in a long time. The little one laughed freely, unburdened by hesitation, and she felt a sense of gratitude she couldn't fully express. As the dinner progressed, she began to relax. She laughed at his jokes, asked questions that revealed her own personality, and let herself be fully present in the moment. For once, she wasn't thinking about work, about meetings, about deadlines. She was thinking about connection. about human kindness, about the possibility that someone could enter her life and accept it all, the chaos, the challenges, the love, and the responsibility. Her child reached for a cookie on the table, and he responded instantly, offering to help if needed. He didn't hesitate, didn't flinch, didn't treat the moment as inconvenient. It was a small gesture, but in that small gesture she saw the depth of his character. He was patient, thoughtful, and considerate. She realized that tonight wasn't just about finding someone for herself. It was about finding someone who could embrace her world, who could understand that love and life came with complexities that couldn't be ignored. The meal continued with more laughter, more stories, and more shared moments. She felt herself opening up in ways she hadn't expected, revealing bits of herself that were vulnerable, human, and real. He listened, really listened, without judgment or distraction. He asked questions that showed genuine interest, and he responded with empathy and warmth. She found herself thinking that perhaps this blind date was not just an experiment, not just a step into the unknown, but a potential turning point. Time seemed to pass quickly. The restaurant began to empty as the evening grew late, but neither of them noticed. They were absorbed in the small universe they had created at the table, a space filled with respect, understanding, and tentative trust. She felt a sense of hope stirring inside her, a feeling she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. For the first time in a long time, she imagined a future where her child and she could share joy with someone who accepted them both fully. As they prepared to leave, she noticed the care he took in helping her child back into the wheelchair, adjusting blankets and jackets with thoughtful hands. There was no awkwardness, no hesitation, only attention and genuine concern. She felt her heart swell with gratitude, realizing that this man's reaction tonight was far beyond what she had hoped for. He didn't see her child as a burden. He didn't see her as a woman tied down by responsibilities. He saw them both as people deserving of care, respect, and kindness. Walking out into the night air, she felt lighter than she had in months. The city lights twinkled around them, reflecting in her child's eyes, and she felt a sense of quiet wonder at the unexpected beauty of the evening. She knew that this was only the beginning, that there were challenges ahead, that life would continue to demand strength and resilience from her. But tonight she allowed herself to savor the simple truth, that genuine human connection was possible, that kindness and understanding could arrive in unexpected forms, and that perhaps, just perhaps, she had taken the first step towards something meaningful. As they walked toward the car, the single dad matched their pace, engaging her child in conversation, laughing at their jokes, and showing a patience that seemed effortless. She felt a warmth spread through her chest, a quiet reassurance that this moment was real, that the kindness she had witnessed was authentic. She looked at him, the man who had entered their lives without expectation, and felt a mixture of surprise, relief, and hope. The evening had begun with nerves and uncertainty, but it had transformed into something far more profound. She knew that there would be more dates, more conversations, more moments of testing and understanding. But tonight had set a foundation, a small but significant beginning. She had dared to bring her child into a world of unknowns, and she had discovered that empathy, patience, and genuine care could create magic. As they reached the car, she felt her heart quiet, a rare peace settling over her, and she realized that sometimes the bravest step is simply to open your world and see who steps in with you. After that first evening, she couldn't stop thinking about him. His calmness, his kindness, the way he had treated her child with genuine care. It was a combination she hadn't expected, and yet it had left a mark on her heart. For days she replayed the moments in her mind, remembering how he had listened, how he had laughed, and how he had managed to make her child feel included in a world that often overlooked them. Life, of course, returned quickly to its usual rhythm. She was back in the office, juggling meetings, conference calls, and endless decision-making. Her child was back in their routine of therapy sessions, schoolwork, and small adventures around the neighborhood. Yet in the quiet moments between tasks, her thoughts drifted to him. She wondered what he was doing, whether he had thought of them, whether he had remembered the small details of that evening. She felt a mixture of hope and uncertainty. She knew she wanted to see him again, but she was cautious. Life had taught her that hope could be fragile, and she didn't want to set herself up for disappointment. Then, one afternoon, her phone buzzed with a message. It was from him. Simple, direct, and warm, asking if she and her child would like to meet again. She felt her chest tighten with a combination of excitement and nerves. They agreed on a casual outing, something low pressure where they could talk and spend time without the expectations of a formal dinner. The idea of introducing her child again, in a less formal setting, felt both comforting and terrifying. She wanted to see how he would handle the everyday moments, the small details, the unpredictable parts of her life. When the day arrived, she prepared carefully. She packed snacks, a few toys, and any items her child might need to feel comfortable. She wanted the day to be smooth, enjoyable, and full of small joys. As they arrived at the park where he was waiting, she saw him standing under a large tree waving with a broad smile. He looked relaxed, friendly, and genuinely happy to see them. She felt her tension ease slightly, realizing that this was a different kind of connection. It wasn't about impressing anyone or appearing perfect. It was about simply being present with each other. Her child's eyes lit up when they saw him and they ran forward, greeting him with enthusiasm. He knelt down immediately, greeting them at their level, asking about their morning and what they had been doing. She watched from a distance, feeling a swell of emotion. There was something extraordinary about the way he interacted with her child, a natural warmth that made her heart ache with relief and hope. She realized again that he saw her child as a person, not a responsibility, and it changed the way she saw him. They walked through the park together, talking about the small wonders around them. He pointed out birds, flowers, and funny cloud shapes, engaging her child in conversation and laughter. She joined in, sometimes sharing stories of her own childhood, sometimes listening quietly as they talked about their dreams, fears, and simple joys. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she was part of a normal family outing, even though she knew their world was different. She felt seen, accepted, and surprisingly free. As the afternoon wore on, they stopped at a small playground area. Her child wanted to try some of the swings, and he helped them carefully, making sure they were secure and comfortable. She felt a sense of peace wash over her. This wasn't just a date anymore. This was a real connection, one that included her child in the most natural and joyful way. She watched as he encouraged her child to push higher on the swing, cheering them on and sharing their excitement. She had never seen her child so carefree and fully engaged with someone new. After some time, they sat down on a bench, sharing ice cream cones and talking quietly. He asked her about her work, but also about her life outside the office. He listened without judgment, without interruption, and she found herself opening up in ways she hadn't expected. She talked about the challenges of balancing her career with raising her child, about the moments of doubt and fatigue, and about the small triumphs that made her proud. He responded with empathy, sharing some of his own experiences as a single parent and revealing his own vulnerabilities. She realized that their connection wasn't just about surface-level attraction. It was built on understanding, respect, and shared human experiences. Her child, meanwhile, was happily chatting with him about their favorite books and games. He had a remarkable way of making her child feel confident and important, asking questions that encouraged them to think and express themselves. She watched quietly, feeling gratitude and admiration. This was someone who could step into their world without hesitation, without judgment, and without fear. She began to imagine what it would be like if he became a regular part of their lives, and for the first time she allowed herself to hope. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, they decided to take a slow walk along a nearby trail. He held the wheelchair gently, guiding it over small bumps and uneven ground with care. She noticed again the patience and thoughtfulness he showed, and it struck her how natural it seemed. He didn't treat her child's needs as obstacles. He treated them as part of life, part of the shared experience, part of the joy. She felt her heart lighten, realizing that connection like this was rare and precious. Along the path, they encountered a small group of children playing. Her child wanted to join in but hesitated, unsure if they could keep up. He encouraged them gently, making sure they could participate safely and enjoyably. She felt a deep sense of relief as she watched them laugh, run, and interact with others. It was a scene of inclusion, of acceptance, of possibility. She realized that he wasn't just kind in structured moments. He was kind in spontaneous, unpredictable situations, and that mattered more than she could express. When they finally sat down on a grassy hill to rest, they shared stories and quiet laughter. He asked her child about their dreams for the future, listening intently and responding with encouragement. She saw the way he nurtured curiosity, how he validated feelings, and how he celebrated small achievements. She felt her own heart open, realizing that this was someone who could embrace the fullness of her life, someone who could be present not just in perfect moments but in the messy, everyday moments that defined them. As evening fell and the park began to empty, they made their way back to the car. He walked beside them, continuing to engage her child in conversation, pointing out stars and sharing stories about constellations. She felt a sense of wonder, a feeling she hadn't experienced in a long time. This was more than a date, it was a shared experience, a moment of genuine connection, a glimpse into what life could be with someone who understood and accepted them fully. Before they parted ways, he knelt down one last time to her child, offering a gentle smile and a heartfelt goodbye. "I had a really good time with you today," he said softly. Her child hugged him tightly and she felt tears prick her eyes. The simple warmth of that moment, the authenticity of the interaction was more than she could have hoped for. She realized that he wasn't just reacting well, he was choosing to care, to be present, to make them both feel seen and valued. Driving home, she reflected on the day, feeling a mixture of relief, joy, and cautious hope. She had dared to open her life again, to share her world with someone new, and she had discovered that kindness, patience, and genuine interest were not just possible, they were real. She felt a sense of optimism she hadn't felt in years, a belief that connection, understanding, and love could arrive in unexpected ways. Her child, tired but happy, leaned against her shoulder, and she felt a deep sense of gratitude for the moments they had shared. That evening, as she tucked her child into bed, she thought about the man who had entered their lives so gently yet so profoundly. She knew there would be more challenges, more conversations, more adjustments, but she also knew that tonight had proven something important, that people who truly care, who truly listen and engage, could make even the most complicated lives feel lighter, richer, and full of possibility. She whispered a quiet thanks to the universe for this unexpected gift, and for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, love and connection were still possible, and that they could come in forms she had never imagined. The days that followed were filled with quiet excitement. She couldn't help but replay the moments at the park, remembering the way he had engaged her child with patience, warmth, and a kind of joy that felt contagious. She felt a new sense of hope, but also a gentle caution. Life had taught her to guard her heart, to protect her child, and to measure expectations carefully. Yet there was something about him that made that caution feel lighter, like the possibility of connection was worth the risk. They agreed to meet again on a weekend for a casual lunch in a small, cozy cafe. She wanted it to be easy, low stress, somewhere her child could be comfortable and she could see him in a natural environment. She packed a small bag with essentials for her child, making sure they had snacks, a water bottle, and a small toy to keep them entertained. She reminded herself to breathe, to be present, to let the day unfold naturally rather than trying to control every moment. When they arrived, he was already waiting, smiling as he saw them approach. She noticed how his eyes lit up, not with judgment or expectation, but with genuine happiness at their presence. He greeted her child first, kneeling down and asking about their morning and what they had been looking forward to that day. She watched quietly, feeling the familiar warmth of relief as her child's face brightened. There was a comfort in seeing how effortlessly he interacted, how he made her child feel important and valued. They were seated at a small table near the window, sunlight streaming in and casting a gentle glow across the cafe. The atmosphere was relaxed, filled with soft chatter and the occasional clinking of cups and plates. Conversation began cautiously, as they all adjusted to the setting, but it quickly became easy and natural. He asked her child about their favorite books and shows, and she could see the way her child's eyes sparkled as they described them in detail. He listened intently, responding with curiosity and encouragement, making them feel heard and understood. She found herself opening up as well, talking about her work in a more personal way, sharing stories that went beyond meetings and strategies. He asked questions that showed genuine interest, not just polite curiosity. He wanted to understand her world, her challenges, and her joys. She felt herself relaxing in his presence, realizing that she didn't have to hide or filter herself. He accepted her fully, not just as a successful CEO, but as a mother, a caretaker, and a person with vulnerabilities. Her child, meanwhile, was fully engaged, asking him questions about his own life and experiences. He responded openly, sharing stories about his work, his own child, and moments from his past that had shaped him. She noticed how he spoke in a way that was relatable and genuine, never dismissive, never condescending. There was a balance in him, confidence mixed with humility, kindness mixed with strength, that drew her in and made her feel a quiet admiration. As the meal progressed, she observed small gestures that spoke volumes. He offered her child more food when they seemed hungry, adjusted their chair for comfort, and checked in regularly without making it feel intrusive. These were not grand gestures, but they were meaningful, revealing a character shaped by empathy and care. She realized that this man's kindness wasn't performative. It was instinctive, natural, and sincere. She felt a growing trust, a belief that he could navigate the realities of her life without hesitation or resentment. After lunch, they decided to take a short walk along a nearby path. The weather was mild, with a gentle breeze carrying the scent of flowers and freshly cut grass. He guided the wheelchair with care, talking to her child about the world around them, pointing out interesting things, asking questions, and listening to their answers. She felt a sense of gratitude she couldn't fully articulate. He wasn't just accommodating. He was actively participating, creating a shared experience that included them both. At one point, her child wanted to stop and examine a small pond filled with ducks. He encouraged them to explore safely, showing patience as they moved slowly along the edge, asking questions about the ducks, their habits, and the colors of the feathers. She watched from a distance, feeling a mixture of relief and awe. This wasn't just about being polite or cautious. This was about genuine engagement, and it made her feel that he could truly be part of their lives in a meaningful way. They continued walking, laughing at small jokes and sharing observations about their surroundings. She noticed the way he listened, how he made space for both of them in the conversation, how he never overshadowed or dismissed their voices. It was rare to encounter someone who could balance attention, empathy, and authenticity so effortlessly. She felt herself letting go of lingering doubts, allowing herself to imagine a future where he was a regular presence in their life. As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting a warm orange glow, they stopped at a small bench to rest. He offered her child a drink of water and sat down beside them, continuing to ask questions and engage in conversation. She could see the excitement and curiosity in her child's eyes, and she felt a surge of gratitude. This man wasn't just reacting to her child. He was actively participating in their world, showing respect, interest, and care. She joined in, talking about her own experiences and listening to his stories. There was a rhythm to the conversation, a natural ebb and flow that made it easy to be present. She realized that this was the first time in a long while that she felt completely comfortable sharing herself, knowing that she would be met with understanding rather than judgment. It was a simple yet profound feeling, one that reminded her of the power of genuine human connection. Her child began to ask questions about his life, curious about his hobbies, his work, and his experiences. He answered with openness, sharing stories in a way that was engaging and relatable. She watched her child's eyes light up, their laughter ringing out in the quiet of the park. It was a rare and precious moment, a glimpse of what life could be like when care and attention were freely given. She felt a sense of hope that had been buried under years of responsibility and worry. As the evening approached, they made their way back toward the cafe where they had parked. He continued to guide the wheelchair carefully, maintaining conversation and ensuring that her child was comfortable and engaged. She felt a quiet admiration for his patience and thoughtfulness. This wasn't a performance. It was a reflection of his character. She realized that he had a rare ability to balance attention, empathy, and authenticity, making both her and her child feel valued. Before parting ways, he knelt down to her child, offering a warm smile and a gentle farewell. Her child hugged him tightly, and she felt tears prick her eyes. It wasn't just the hug. It was the authenticity of the moment, the depth of connection that had formed in such a short time. She realized that he had managed to create a space where both she and her child felt seen, respected, and included. Driving home, she reflected on the day, feeling a mixture of joy, relief, and cautious optimism. She had allowed herself to open her world again, to share her life with someone new, and the experience had been more enriching than she had imagined. She felt a sense of gratitude for the patience, kindness, and understanding he had shown. It wasn't just about the moments themselves. It was about the way he approached them, with empathy, respect, and a genuine desire to connect. That night, as she tucked her child into bed, she thought about the day's experiences, feeling a quiet sense of hope. There would be challenges ahead, moments of uncertainty, and times when patience would be tested. But she also knew that today had proven something important, that genuine human connection was possible, that it could arrive in forms that were authentic and kind, and that it could bring joy, understanding, and shared experiences to a life that often felt burdened by responsibility. She whispered a quiet thanks for the unexpected gift of this man's presence, and for the first time in years, she allowed herself to imagine a future where they could continue to grow together. It wasn't about perfection. It was about patience, empathy, and shared humanity. She closed her eyes, feeling a sense of peace, and drifted to sleep with a heart a little lighter, a little braver, and filled with cautious optimism for what might come next. Weeks had passed since their last outing, and life had settled into a quiet rhythm once again. She had returned to her work with the usual intensity, making tough decisions, attending meetings, and solving problems that seemed endless. Yet, even amid the chaos, her thoughts often wandered back to him and the moments they had shared. There was something comforting in remembering his patience, his warmth, and the way he had treated her child as if they were the most important person in the world. She felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness as she prepared for their next meeting. They had planned to spend the day together, visiting a small local museum that was known for its interactive exhibits. She hoped it would be a fun and enriching experience for her child, and a way to see him in a different environment, one where unpredictability and curiosity could guide the day. She packed carefully, making sure they had everything her child might need: snacks, water, a small notebook, and crayons. She also reminded herself to bring her own openness, ready to enjoy the experience without overthinking every detail. When they arrived, he was already waiting, looking relaxed and cheerful. His smile immediately put her at ease. He greeted her child warmly, kneeling down to be at their level, asking about their morning and the small things that had happened since they last met. She watched quietly, feeling that familiar sense of relief as her child responded with enthusiasm. The way he engaged with her child felt natural, effortless, and genuine, and she realized again how rare that kind of kindness was. The museum was lively, filled with laughter, soft voices, and the sound of children exploring exhibits. They began with a science exhibit that encouraged interaction, allowing visitors to experiment with simple machines and optical illusions. He encouraged her child to try each station, explaining patiently and helping them understand how things worked. She could see the curiosity spark in her child's eyes, and she felt a deep sense of gratitude. He wasn't just guiding them through the museum, he was guiding them through the joy of discovery, making learning exciting and engaging. They moved from exhibit to exhibit, each one offering a new opportunity for interaction. At a section designed for building and construction, he helped her child stack blocks and create simple structures, celebrating each small success with genuine excitement. She noticed the way he celebrated their achievements without overshadowing them, allowing her child to take pride in their work while offering gentle guidance when needed. It was a delicate balance, and he managed it with ease, showing patience and thoughtfulness that went far beyond what she had expected. During a short break in the museum cafe, they shared a light snack. Conversation flowed naturally, covering topics from favorite exhibits to dreams and hobbies. He asked questions that invited her child to think and share, encouraging them to express themselves fully. She listened quietly, feeling a sense of awe at how effortlessly he engaged her child's mind and spirit. It wasn't just politeness or performance, it was genuine interest and care, and it left her feeling both relieved and inspired. After their snack, they explored an art exhibit designed for interactive participation. Her child eagerly joined in, drawing and coloring while he engaged with them, offering suggestions and encouragement without taking over. She noticed again the subtle ways he adjusted his behavior to suit her child's needs, anticipating challenges and offering solutions with thoughtfulness. It was a kind of care that didn't feel imposed but felt naturally present, making her feel hopeful about the possibilities of a shared life. They spent hours in the museum, moving at a pace that allowed her child to explore comfortably. He remained patient, kind, and attentive, never rushing, never showing frustration. She found herself observing him closely, realizing that the qualities she admired weren't just momentary. They were consistent, part of who he was. She felt a growing trust and admiration, a belief that he could be a lasting presence in their lives. As the afternoon wore on, a small accident occurred. Her child accidentally knocked over a small display, causing a minor mess. She felt a flicker of anxiety, unsure how he would react. To her relief, he handled it calmly, helping her child clean up and reassuring them with gentle words. There was no scolding, no judgment, just understanding and practical support. She felt her respect deepen even further. He didn't just excel in controlled situations. He shone in moments of unpredictability, showing the true measure of his character. After the museum, they decided to take a walk in the nearby park. The weather was perfect, with a soft breeze and warm sunlight. He guided the wheelchair with care, pointing out interesting sights, engaging her child with questions, and encouraging exploration. She noticed the way he created space for both of them, listening as much as he spoke, balancing attention and empathy with skill. She felt a sense of peace and hope, realizing that he was someone who could navigate the complexities of her life without hesitation or resentment. They came across a small pond, and her child wanted to feed the ducks. He helped them safely distribute small pieces of bread, engaging them in conversation about the ducks' habits and behavior. She watched, amazed at how naturally he included her child in every activity, making them feel confident and valued. It was a simple moment, yet it carried profound significance. He was not only kind, he was actively nurturing curiosity, engagement, and joy. As the day progressed, they found a quiet spot on a grassy hill to rest. Her child leaned against him, talking about the day, and he listened with full attention, responding thoughtfully. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for his patience, empathy, and genuine interest. He had proven once again that he was not just reactive but proactive in creating a positive and supportive environment. She realized that this consistency was rare and precious, a sign that he could truly be part of their lives in a meaningful way. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, they walked back toward the car. He continued to engage her child, pointing out stars beginning to appear in the twilight, telling small stories about constellations, and encouraging her child to ask questions. She felt a quiet admiration for his ability to make ordinary moments feel magical. It wasn't about grand gestures. It was about presence, attention, and care. Before parting ways, he knelt down one last time to her child, offering a warm and genuine farewell. Her child hugged him tightly, and she felt tears prick her eyes. The depth of connection, the authenticity of the interaction, and the patience he had shown throughout the day left a profound impression on her. She realized that he had not only met but exceeded her expectations, creating a space where both she and her child felt seen, valued, and included. Driving home, she reflected on the day with a mixture of joy, relief, and cautious optimism. Life was still complex, full of challenges and responsibilities, but she felt a sense of hope she hadn't experienced in years. She realized that the most meaningful connections were not based on perfection, but on empathy, patience, and shared human experience. He had shown that he could navigate unpredictability, support her child, and engage with genuine interest, qualities that were far more important than charm or superficial attraction. That evening, as she tucked her child into bed, she thought about the day's experiences and the man who had entered their lives. She felt a quiet sense of hope, knowing that this connection was built on real understanding and care. She whispered a quiet thanks for the unexpected gift of someone who had shown that kindness, patience, and empathy could transform ordinary moments into experiences of joy, learning, and shared humanity. For the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to imagine a future where their lives could intertwine in meaningful ways, and she felt a sense of peace settle over her, quiet but profound, carrying the promise of more shared moments to come. The next weekend arrived, and with it, a mixture of anticipation and nervous excitement. She had been thinking about the day for a week, replaying past moments, wondering how things would unfold, and quietly hoping it would be just as warm and genuine as the previous outings. Today, they were planning a simple picnic in a quiet park, a chance to enjoy the outdoors, fresh air, and relaxed conversation. She carefully prepared, making sure her child had everything they might need: favorite snacks, a small blanket to sit on, and a few toys. She wanted the day to be smooth, easy, and filled with moments of connection. When they arrived, he was already there, smiling warmly and waving. He had brought a small picnic basket, and the sight of it made her feel a flutter of relief. It showed thoughtfulness and care, not extravagant gestures, just simple kindness. Her child's eyes lit up and they ran toward him, eager and excited. He knelt down immediately, greeting them with a gentle voice and encouraging words. She watched quietly, feeling that familiar warmth of relief and admiration. He had a way of making her child feel seen, valued, and included, and it filled her heart with gratitude. They spread the blanket under a large tree, its branches providing a comfortable shade. Conversation began casually, touching on favorite games, books, and memories from the past week. She noticed how he listened attentively, giving space for her child to express themselves, asking questions that encouraged thought and creativity. She realized again how rare it was to find someone who could balance patience, empathy, and genuine interest with such ease. As they enjoyed the snacks, her child shared small stories from their school week. He listened carefully, nodding, laughing at funny moments and asking questions that made her child feel proud of their achievements. She felt a deep sense of gratitude. These were not empty gestures. This was real engagement, understanding, and care. She found herself relaxing, joining in the conversation, and sharing her own thoughts and experiences in a way that felt natural and unforced. After eating, they decided to play a simple game nearby, tossing a soft ball back and forth. Her child laughed freely, running short distances with his gentle encouragement. He offered guidance without pressure, celebrating small successes with enthusiasm, and making sure her child felt included and confident. She watched, amazed at how naturally he had become part of their small world. It wasn't just about fun. It was about connection, understanding, and shared experience. The afternoon flowed with small adventures. They explored a flower garden, watching bees and butterflies, and he explained things in simple terms that sparked curiosity in her child. They discovered interesting rocks and leaves, and he encouraged her child to ask questions and describe what they noticed. She felt a deep sense of peace and appreciation. This man had a way of creating moments that were both educational and joyful, turning ordinary experiences into meaningful interactions. As the day went on, a minor mishap occurred. Her child tripped slightly while running, falling on the grass and scraping their knee. She felt a flicker of worry, but he immediately stepped in, checking if her child was okay, offering comfort and applying a small first aid solution he had in his backpack. He spoke in a calm and reassuring voice, making sure her child felt safe and cared for. She felt her respect and admiration deepen. He handled the situation with patience and empathy, showing that he could be trusted in moments of unexpected difficulty. Once her child was comfortable again, they continued their activities. They sat together under the tree, sharing stories and small laughs. He asked about dreams for the future, hobbies, and favorite memories, listening intently and responding with encouragement. She found herself opening up more, sharing her thoughts on balancing work and parenting, the joys and struggles of her child's unique needs, and her hopes for their future. He responded with understanding, empathy, and genuine curiosity, creating a space where she could speak freely without fear of judgment. Her child, meanwhile, was fully engaged, asking him questions about his life, hobbies, and experiences. He answered with openness, sharing stories that were both relatable and thoughtful. She noticed the way he celebrated her child's curiosity, encouraged their questions, and created an environment where exploration and learning felt safe and enjoyable. It was a remarkable quality, one that made her feel hopeful about the future and the possibility of building a meaningful connection with someone who truly understood and cared. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow across the park, they packed up their things and started a slow walk back to the car. He guided the wheelchair with care, engaging her child in conversation and pointing out interesting sights along the way. She felt a quiet admiration for his thoughtfulness and patience. It wasn't just about managing practical tasks. It was about making the entire experience enjoyable, inclusive, and meaningful for both her and her child. Before they parted, he knelt down one last time to her child, offering a warm smile and gentle words. Her child hugged him tightly, and she felt a surge of emotion. The authenticity of the moment, the genuine connection, and the patience he had shown throughout the day left a profound impact on her. She realized that he had not only met but exceeded her expectations, demonstrating that care, empathy, and engagement were qualities that could truly transform lives. Driving home, she reflected on the day with a mixture of relief, joy, and cautious optimism. Life was still complex, full of challenges and responsibilities, but she felt a sense of hope and possibility she hadn't experienced in years. She realized that meaningful connections were not based on perfection, but on empathy, patience, and shared human experience. He had shown that he could navigate unpredictability, support her child, and engage with genuine interest, and that gave her a quiet sense of reassurance about the future. That evening, as she tucked her child into bed, she thought about the man who had entered their lives and how naturally he had become part of their world. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the kindness, patience, and understanding he had shown. She whispered a quiet thanks, acknowledging the unexpected gift of someone who could truly care for both her and her child. For the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to imagine a future where their lives could intertwine, filled with shared moments, support, and understanding. Later, as she sat alone for a moment of quiet reflection, she realized how much she had learned from this experience. Connection, she thought, wasn't about grand gestures or flawless moments. It was about presence, understanding, patience, and the willingness to engage fully with the people you cared about. He had shown that by being genuinely attentive, kind, and supportive, it was possible to create meaningful bonds that could weather life's unpredictability. She felt a quiet excitement about what the future might hold, not in terms of certainty, but in the possibilities of continued shared experiences, understanding, and support. She knew there would be challenges ahead, moments of stress and times when patience would be tested, but she also knew that someone who could approach those moments with empathy and care would make all the difference. In that quiet night, she allowed herself a sense of hope that had been dormant for too long. She thought of her child, the joy on their face and the simple happiness that came from feeling included and valued. She thought of him, the gentle, patient, understanding man who had entered their lives and shown that connection and kindness were still possible. It was a profound feeling, one that filled her heart with warmth and quiet optimism. She realized that the journey was only beginning, that life would continue to present challenges and opportunities, but that they could face them together with patience, understanding, and care. She felt a sense of peace settle over her, a calm reassurance that sometimes the most meaningful relationships arrive unexpectedly and gently, yet leave a lasting impact that can transform lives in the simplest, most profound ways. As she finally turned off the lights and closed her eyes, she carried with her the memory of the day, the laughter, the kindness, and the shared moments of connection. She allowed herself to dream a little, to imagine a future where love, patience, and understanding could coexist with the realities of life, and she felt a quiet, enduring hope that their journey together was just beginning.